What's up, guys? Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, and a ton of tips to help you guys on your fitness journey. And today I want to talk a little bit about how to find the right nutrition plan for yourself, because there's a lot of stuff out there. And I think that it can be really overwhelming. And honestly, if you're a people pleaser, sometimes you might think that you're supposed to sign up for something because you feel like it's an obligation. And it's really important for people to understand how to approach choosing the right program or choosing the right coach and all that kinds of stuff. And I want to kind of start by saying that, hey, I also know that I'm not going to be the right coach for every single person out there. If I can help everybody, then I am likely not helping anybody specifically. And I do offer a pretty specific set of parameters for the clients that I want to work with. And that's a pretty broad spectrum of people, but there are some criteria that I look for that I'll get into so that I can make sure that you get the most out of working with me. So first and foremost, if you guys get any value out of this episode or any of my episodes, please make sure that you like, subscribe on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, or whatever platform that you're watching. If you're watching me live and you guys have questions, don't be afraid to pop them up in the chat. I'm going to try not to get distracted. I'm going to try and stay focused, but sometimes I get off on tangents, especially if some of my normal peeps are on here and they start putting up some stuff that makes me laugh. So anyways, but I want to start by just kind of figuring out, and I'm really going to talk about coaching specifically because coaching is kind of becoming the new thing. Is should I have a nutrition coach? Maybe you've had a nutrition coach. Maybe you're considering signing up for a nutrition coach. And I'm going to start by saying, not every person needs a nutrition coach, but every person needs to know what they need to learn. So the way I look at it is some people in school, like for myself, when I was in high school, I could not wait to be able to do dual enrollment because I wanted to be able to go to college. And in college, it was a lot more flexible. I could do I did a lot of online classes because I was bored in school. I really was. I would much rather do things on my own time. That's just how I am. I'm a do-it-yourself kind of person. And so for a lot of people, if you're motivated and you can kind of read a book and follow directions, it's kind of like the people that can put their own furniture together. You might not need a coach, but then there are some other people out there that might get a lot of benefits out of a coach. And sometimes the longer you've been doing something, you kind of pick up all the basic principles, but now you're at a place where you're kind of stuck and you're not making progress anymore. And this is where having a coach might come in. In fact, here's a perfect example. You can do CrossFit on your own, but when you first start CrossFit, if you have a coach that takes you through the classes and teaches you the movements, you're probably going to pick things up a little bit quicker, have eyes on you to make sure that you're moving properly so you don't get injured. So a little bit of a scenario there, but it's not to say that you can't learn CrossFit on your own, so just some things to think about. So I want to start by just kind of going into this is coaching really the route that you need to go? Okay, so here's who I think that nutrition coaching is really for. And I'm going to go into different nutrition plans, but I want to talk about coaching first. Okay. So when the do-it-yourself stuff is just not working anymore, and I was there at one point, I was trying to figure things out. I was very educated. I had a degree in nutrition, and there was just some things with my body that I wasn't quite understanding or wasn't really applying because there was so much information out there. And when the do-it-yourself stuff just isn't working anymore, sometimes it's good to have a professional. And again, I'm going to go back to analogies. I love using analogies. Imagine you need to fix something on your car and you decide that you're going to try and do it yourself because you don't want to pay a mechanic. You might spend a whole bunch of time, money, and energy trying to figure out how to do this whole thing and then realize probably should have just hired the mechanic because it wasn't worth the headache. This is where sometimes having a coach can just kind of take all of that away for you. So when the do-it-yourself isn't working anymore, it's not that you wasted the time. It just, the time wasn't worth the squeeze, right? Or the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It wasn't worth it. So time to maybe look to see if somebody else might be able to troubleshoot some things for you. When you're feeling overwhelmed with all the options out there, and that can leave you feeling confused. And this is big with nutrition. You have one person telling you that freaking vegetables are bad for you, stop eating vegetables. And you have another person telling you that animal protein is going to give you cancer. So there's so much conflicting information out there that you should be not eating carbohydrates because you need to become more fat adapted. And there's so many things that can confuse you and make you feel overwhelmed. And you're kind of left to just kind of like just pick and choose what you want to what you want to try out based on what feels right to you. And it's like, is it going to work? Is it not? You're kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And that's another place where maybe just having somebody with some education, a professional person to say, hey, this is exactly what I think is best for you. And this is the route we're going to take. And that's where having that coach can come into play. Um, kind of going to number 3, I put down when you want to take the guesswork out of things. So maybe you have been trying a bunch of different things and maybe you're seeing some progress, but like nothing's really consistent and you're kind of guessing at what's working and what's not. And maybe you've got some beliefs around food and you're just kind of like not really sure. And you want to learn, like you want to really know like what actually is creating results and how to maintain them. Having a coach to actually educate you on those things can be very helpful. When you are ready to kind of or when you're ready to have somebody else tell you what to do. So if you're somebody who has been, I like to say that, beating around the bush with addressing the problem, I've been there myself. You can call it what it is. You know the problem, it's right in front of you, but you're going to go all these different directions to work around that one change. When you're ready to have a coach actually take a look at that problem and give you some solutions to it, it might be the best thing to go ahead and, hire a coach or hire somebody to help you navigate through that problem. And I've been there myself as well. A lot of times it's mental blocks that people face. Another time that you might want to start thinking about having a coach is when you are ready to make changes, but you're not quite confident in your ability to follow through and commit to them. Or maybe you've tried to follow through and commit to them and you just haven't really been able to stick with anything. These are all kind of times when having a coach might be good. Now, like I said, you might not even need a coach. You might just need a nutrition plan. And choosing the right plan is very important. And I'm going to kind of go into that as well. But we're going to stay focused on coaching for right now, because a lot of people I think right now are kind of, and I'll be honest, even most plans now, it's like it's a coaching program. It's some kind of a nutrition coaching program. It's not just buy this method. And I do actually have a done for you method. And a lot of these programs out there do have a done for you version, but most companies are going to be selling you some kind of a person or a bot, I would call it a bot, to guide you through this process, whether it's an app or whether it's an actual real person. Okay. Now, what kind of coaching do you need? And you can say plan if you want to, but what kind of coaching do you actually need? And this is really important when you guys are trying to decide on choosing the right nutrition coaching program. If you are brand new to anything nutrition related, like you're drinking Mountain Dew, eating McDonald's, like you're just doing whatever you want, you don't have a workout program, like you're literally starting from scratch. And what do you know? What do you not know? Where are you at on your journey? Do you already have a pretty good understanding of food quality and you're just kind of not really sure how to put the macro stuff together into it, and you're trying to find the blend there? Like, what do you actually know about nutrition? And that's going to help you decide what kind of program to follow. If you have no idea what a macro is, a number or a program that's just like, hey, follow these macros, might not be the right program for you, because you need to understand what macros are. And there's a prerequisite to that. And a lot of coaching programs might offer some kind of guidance, but that can still be very overwhelming. Just be given a food list and say, hey, like, I ain't got no idea what to do with this. What is your relationship like with food? What is your diet history like? Are you literally have you been on every diet under the sun? Do you have a lot of fear on carbohydrates? What do you actually feel when it comes to food? Do you deal with binge eating? Do you deal with restriction? Do you deal with a combination of those things? Like what is your relationship like with food? Because just buying a program that's like, hey, we're going to, dial things in and we're going to get you to lose weight. We're going to do these macros, but like, they don't understand that on a Saturday night, you're sitting at home and you're like eating Cheetos and drinking beer and like having Ben and Jerry's or whatever it is you're doing on a Saturday night to comfort yourself is probably not going to work for you. What kind of coaching do you need? Are you like an all or nothing person? Do you need to learn how to be more flexible, or vice versa? Are you a little bit too flexible and you need to learn how to be a little bit more structured? There's a lot of things that you have to understand about coaching. In fact, one of the things this is totally off topic, but something that really bothers me is when a lot of coaches out there, I see it on like Instagram with a lot of influencers, like they preach about, oh, like I don't even track my food, like I don't do this, and this is how I like found it balance. Like they spent years like tracking their food and doing all of these things or counting calories or eating clean or whatever it is to do those things. Like that's why they burned out. They didn't ever figure out the flexibility piece of it. So it's just a little tangent, but it's something that does really bother me a little bit. Um, so yeah, so you want to know where you're at in terms of your relationship with food. And then another piece is, what is your metabolic health like? And this is a big one. So if you're somebody who's dealing with like hormonal issues, like insulin resistance, you've got all these other medical conditions, your gut's a mess, and then you like find some like so and so's like, get a beach body by this date and follow these that's probably not going to work for you, because she's probably not looking at all the things under the hood that really need to be addressed. So you want to make sure that you have a full picture of what you're actually getting and what you actually need. So it's really important that you actually know all of those things before just making a decision on a nutrition coach or a nutrition program. So I think that kind of where we can go from here is asking yourself, is a program or a plan right for you, or do you need a coach? And maybe that's where I should have started, but I just get so passionate about talking about coaching. Is I think the people that are right for a plan and don't really need the guidance likely don't have a bunch of emotional baggage around food. They likely feel like they have a pretty good understanding of food quality and understanding of nutrition, just need to put the pieces together and can easily follow a plan. And those that are pretty like disciplined with following through and not getting so hyper focused on results. Like they can just kind of follow a plan, and it can be more of like a lifestyle change, right? Like when I committed to every diet that I've committed to, because I've committed to a lot of them, it wasn't like it was a no brainer. I'm committing to paleo, and I did it. Like didn't think twice. I just went all in. I committed to the zone. I went all in, so whatever it was, not that those things were very effective for me, kind of backfired pretty badly. But yeah, like that's really what it comes down to, is understanding like what kind of a person you are. Can you just take directions and go? Are you the kind of person that can read a manual and put the furniture together, or do you need to help somebody to help you out with that? So can you figure out how to use a screwdriver or a power drill, or do you need somebody else to help you do that? So knowing where you're at, whereas the coach can hopefully, now the coach isn't going to do the work for you. The coach is just going to help you apply the program, right? They're going to teach you the tricks and the tips and all that stuff to make it easier for you to apply the program. So I think that I'll be honest, anybody can benefit from coaching, but I'm just saying that some people might not need it. And that's kind of, I'll go into why I have 3 different program options now for clients that want to work with us. I want to talk about some red flags when you are looking at buying into a coaching program or a program at all. And there's a whole bunch of them. And this isn't about bashing programs. I'm not even going to put any names out there or specifics on diets, because I'm going to be honest, any diet program can work. If you want to go fasting, go fasting. If you want to go carnivore, go carnivore. If you want to go keto, go keto. Whatever it is, you want to go macro tracking, go macro tracking. But whatever it is, they all work for one reason, right? Like they should all create a healthier individual. So at the end of the program, you should be healthier than you were when you started. There should be a calorie deficit if fat loss is your goal. There should be an exit strategy. So if you're not going to be eating that way for the rest of your life, there should be a way to build back in maintenance and moderation. But the reality is there's some red flags out there that I want to talk about. And I do think that one big red flag is anybody selling fast results, right? Like somebody selling fast results is trying to get people to think that like their program is like, this is going to happen so quickly, so lose 30 pounds in 30 days. Like this is how my client lost 20 pounds in 5 weeks, whatever it is. The reality is, it doesn't matter what program you follow, realistic results are going to be the same across the board. It comes down to how that person can mentally and physically handle a calorie deficit. And that's going to help them figure out how many pounds they can lose per week, along with how much weight they have to lose, along with their metabolic history. So it doesn't really matter. There's no fast track to things. But what a lot of people end up buying is that if you do come from a very poor quality diet. So if I had a client that came to me that was, like I said, drinking Mountain Dew, eating pizza, whatever they want, and I start cleaning up their diet, they're going to see quick drop in weight for the first 2 weeks. And I don't even consider that weight loss. I don't even start considering their weight moving until after the second week. Cause that's just, I call it like cleaning out the shit. Like that's cleaning out the junk. That's not really fat loss. That's just water. It's just waste, your body adapting. After the 2 week mark, that's when you start measuring progress. That's when you start to figure out, is this actually going to be effective? So reality is you shouldn't even be adjusting anything for like the first 4 weeks, unless it's adjusting based off of how you're feeling or your appetite. So big red flag is fast results. I think another one is fear mongering and or like selling their protocol or their program as like the only way, right? So this is where I am not going to pinpoint a specific diet, but people that are like carbs are bad and like this food is going to give you cancer and this is why you have a gut and this and that. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. There's like no food out there that's going to make your body like all of a sudden unhealthy, right? Like just doesn't work that way. So if there's like a company or a program that's like telling you that this is why their program works, like it's not the reality. In fact, I think that the most benefits that come from restrictive diets like that is the overall, and actually any diet, is usually the inclusion of more nutrient dense foods rather than the exclusion of specific foods. I think that when you're no longer eating a lot of processed foods, you're getting in less calories because those foods are really easy to overeat. And when you're eating more nutrient dense food, you're getting in more nutrients. So your body is going to get healthier pretty quick. You know, it's not the diet per se, it's the change in calorie intake and the nutrients you're taking in. So I think any kind of fear mongering around specific foods or anything like that as a red flag. Another red flag I wrote down is that it requires some sort of like specific supplements. You know, you shouldn't have to buy a supplement program or follow a supplement regimen or spend 2 weeks in a detox before you're starting, you know, to get it. All that shit is bullshit. Like it doesn't, your body like has a natural detoxifier, your liver, right? Like, so at the end of the day, like that stuff is not going to help you at all. It's mostly mental. And usually because you're eating so much less food, your digestive tract has a little bit of a break, which you can easily do that. There's some things that we can do to optimize digestion, which I do with a lot of my clients, but it doesn't require any specific supplements for the most part. Again, going into what kind of a coach you need if you have metabolic or gut issues, there might be some enzymes and some things missing in your gut that you might need to touch on. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't have to buy anything in order to be healthy. It should be a matter of a case-by-case basis. Let's talk about some of the benefits of having a coach. I think this is something that I kind of already touched on, but I did write notes today because I want to kind of cover a little bit of everything. I think the biggest benefit that I see from having a coach is just that ongoing support. I mean, the biggest benefit is like you literally have somebody, if you have a good coach, that like if you have a question, you can be like, what do you think of this? I'm having this thought or I need this thing. Like you have that ongoing support that you're doing the right things and you know how to make adjustments if something doesn't feel right, right? They kind of reinforce your intuition. I think a lot of us often know what we need to be doing, but we don't feel secure in that. And just having that little bit of security can kind of help a little bit, just giving you that boost to stay committed. Another benefit is the education. I think a good coach can educate somebody in simple terms, you know, so it's not feeding you a bunch of like really, really like scientific names, but it's like, this is why this works. I think that that's very important. So having a coach that actually will explain things to you so that you understand why you're doing what you're doing. In fact, I just asked one of my clients this question. I'm like, do you know what my method is, what I teach, and why I teach it? You know, I think that's important. I want my clients to understand what their goal is when they leave me. I want them to understand the importance of all the things that matter with nutrition so that they can, when they're out in their life, apply them for the rest of their life. You know, I don't have this program per se that is like a one size fit all. I teach nutrition. I don't teach a diet plan. You know, and that's why my plan is something that can work for anybody at whatever goal that they have. I have specific people that I like to work with, but that's the goal. Accountability is a big one that you're going to get from a coach. So we are more likely to do things when we tell people that we're going to do them. And we're even more likely when we have somebody holding us accountable to them, because a lot of us are people pleasers, and everybody knows the feeling of guilt when you let somebody down. So having a coach just kind of gives you that little extra boost that you have a check-in coming and that you're going to be doing the work. And again, it comes down to that ongoing support that even when things are difficult, you can feel proud of yourself. Like, man, I stayed consistent when I didn't want to. That's something that I love about having a coach myself, is that like when I am feeling like I don't want to do the work and I do it, I like want to celebrate that. And sometimes for me, it's just celebrating the work with my coach. A big one here, and this kind of goes down to that, is having somebody who really understands what you're going through and, has either been through it themselves or is working with people that are going through it, because it can feel really lonely when you're trying to make changes to your nutrition and your lifestyle, and like your significant other's not on board, your kids don't understand, you feel overwhelmed, like, nobody at the office is doing things. You feel like when you go out to eat, you're the only person that cares. Like all of that stuff does happen. And having somebody else that actually understands those things and can help you work through them can be helpful, so that you just don't feel defeated, and that you understand like maybe sometimes it's okay to like just take a break and not think about food from a fat loss perspective or a health perspective, and like actually just enjoy food for the mere sake of enjoying food. That's a part of this as well. I think the biggest benefit of having a coach that I think that successful clients learn really quickly is direction and focus. My clients that get the best results are the ones that like I tell them what to do and they're like action takers. In fact, a lot of my do-it-yourselfers are the best clients because they just want somebody to ensure them that they're doing the right things and making the adjustments. And as long as they have those things, they're going to see progress. They're going to be successful because they're going to put the actions into play in their life. They're not going to hesitate on it. They're not going to question things. They're not going to come up with excuses. They're going to ask questions and look for solutions to things. So now I'm going to talk about coming down to like, how do you know how to choose a coaching program or a program in itself? Like I mentioned, you might not need a coach, but you probably need some kind of a program. But let's just say you are looking at coaching. All right. First and foremost, you have to ask yourself, what kind of communication do you work best with and how much communication? So if your check-in with your coach is going to be via email and you're going to get, this is this week's recipe of the week and your tip of the day and your motivation for Monday and your tips for post-workout nutrition. Oh, and here's your number adjustments. If that's what you want, then that's fine. But if you're somebody that would much rather have a nutrition check-in where they actually go through your diary with you and they show you, hey, these are some things you're doing great, and these are some things where we can improve. Your fiber intake is this. Your consistency looks great this week. Your progress is trending down, and they tell you exactly what to adjust, and they're listening to your needs that week. Like, wow, it looks like you really had a tough week. Your dad was sick. I totally can understand how that can make things difficult. Like, you did a great job of like troubleshooting the best you could. If you actually want like a more thorough check-in, do you want to be able to talk to your coach throughout the week, or do you feel okay with just having one text message check-in a week? What works best for you to get results? That's what's most important, is what communication do you need for you? What level of support do you need kind of goes along with that as well. So if you are someone that just needs a quick adjustment every week and you're fine, you're going to do the work, then that's all you need. But if you're someone like, no, like I need a little bit more check-ins frequently, I'm still kind of learning this and it's easy for me to get distracted, you might need a little bit more support. Are you somebody that likes having things mapped out for you? So are you somebody that just wants to follow a meal plan or be told what to eat? Or are you somebody that wants your more flexibility? You want to be able to kind of plan your own meals and you want to have that taken away or have that freedom and that you control yourself. What do you actually want for yourself? That's something else that matters. So I don't want a meal plan. I like having ideas. I like having templates, and I give my clients a lot of ideas and templates, but ultimately they have the freedom to make the food that they want with whatever they want. Do you, I already mentioned that. I'm just making sure I'm covering everything. Okay. Um, this is the most important part when you're choosing a coach. What kind of personality in a coach do you want? All right. So like personally for me, like I'm somewhat introverted. I'm kind of boring. I might make some quirky jokes here and there, but I'm pretty blah, right? Like, but I am I like to call myself, I have a tough love coach with some empathy. What kind of coach do you need? Do you need a drill sergeant? Do you need somebody that's more of like the gentle approach and like very like, like I'm sorry, I'm not gonna vibe well with a coach. It's like, I want you to wake up every morning and have like your Himalayan sea salt water and have 5 minutes of sunlight and sit outside in the sun with your with your shoes off. Like, it's just not gonna be with me. Like, I am just entirely too high strung. And maybe I would get benefits from that, but honestly, I get more benefits out of somebody that resonates with somebody that's like, hey, I get up, I get to work. That's what I do. Like, that's how I work. So know what kind of coach you need. Do you need someone that's going to call you on your bullshit, or do you need someone that's going to be like, hey, listen, I know you're struggling. Like what, and there's no right or wrong here, but like you have to know what kind of person is actually going to help you. If you are going to be intimidated by someone that's just telling you what to do and you're going to take things very personally, a tough love person might not be the right thing for you. Vice versa. If you're like, nope, I need tough love. I need somebody to call me on my bullshit. That might be what you need, So you have to ask yourself, what kind of personality do you work best with? So I guess I kind of wanted to segue into me, my own coaching style, and kind of a little bit about my offers that I have for my clients now, because I have kind of expanded things a little bit to help more people from the do-it-yourselfer to the person that needs the full accountability. And I'll be honest, I'm the kind of coach that I like to have full access to my clients. And I like my clients to have full access to me. And it's why creating my middle ground program has still been a work in progress, because it's hard for me not to want to deliver everything to them that I'm giving to my one-on-one clients. But there are people that are somewhere right in the middle. Guys, I am a tough love coach. I am the kind of person who, and when I say that, I don't ever say anything in a way of like coming down on somebody, but I am definitely the kind of person that is just going to tell you what it is. Like, hey, you're making an excuse for this, why you can't do this. This is the solution. And yes, everybody's life is hard, right? Like whether it's, I don't have 3 kids. I don't have to be in an office all day with a boss screaming at me. My lifestyle might be different, but I can offer solutions to somebody who is willing to do the work. I'm going to be honest and I'm going to give them solutions to those things. And sometimes it's boring, but they're going to get solutions. So I'm going to be a tough love coach, but I also have empathy, right? Going into, if I have a client who is, I just had a client yesterday, she's had a really rough couple of months. She had a huge transition in her life. And like the month of June was like a wash, because like she went from moving, changing jobs, a new relationship, and like old habits kind of spiraled back in, because I work with her more on a emotional eating level, and she felt herself kind of like in a spiraling. And for her, like it was empathy she needed. She's like, hey, listen, this was 1 month out of the last like 8 months. So like that's not really that big in the grand scheme of things. And it wasn't even the whole month. And so she needed to hear like from the opposite perspective, like, let's be more logical. So I guess I would call myself like a logical tough love coach, because I am also going to put logic into play. I know for me, I work best when I see logic. And sometimes when I'm emotional, it's hard to see that. And I will always kind of give that to my clients. I like teaching. I want clients that want to learn. I don't want clients that just want to be told what to do. I'm fine with that, but I want them to know what they're doing and why it works, and to be able to take that knowledge and keep going. So I want people that are excited about the changes that they're making. I don't want this to feel like sandpaper rubbing on their arm. I want them to be excited about, changing their life, changing their health, and not just from a fat loss perspective. I want people that want to change permanently, so that's why everything I teach is very much about sustainability. That yes, obviously fat loss is not a long-term thing. We're going to be doing it for a period of time, but the changes we're making should be permanent. It shouldn't be, I'm going to stop doing this. In fact, think of it this way. Most of y'all go to the gym and go to the gym regularly and don't have any plan to stop, right? Like your nutrition needs to be the same way. So that's how I approach my clients. That's what I want them to understand, you know. When it comes to communication for me, I do a lot of texting. I do a lot of voice memos. I do Loom videos. I don't love phone calls, but I do check in with my clients via phone, usually once every 4 weeks or so. And if a client's like struggling, I'm like, hey, we got to hop on a call, because that's better for me. But I'm not the kind of client that's like, let's schedule a check-in call every single week at this date, because I feel like not every person needs a check-in call every single week. I kind of would prefer to kind of go back and forth via voice memo, because that's more convenient for me and likely more convenient for them. So I don't really schedule, but if a client needs me, like yesterday when that client had a message, I'm like, hey, you got a few minutes to talk to me for a few minutes? I'm going to hop on a call with her, So I do work better that way. I don't know, like the technology for me is just, I'd much rather do that. I'm definitely more of a voice memo person than anything. I like consistency in my schedule. So my clients know, like, hey, you've got a check-in day. Like, I want to help you, but like that means that I need some communication from you. I don't like guessing. In fact, I'm like a mom. Like, I'm like, hey, I didn't get your check-in form. I love it when my clients have that check-in form done for me. And I'm like, oh, I'm excited to check in with them because they're excited to get feedback. Like, I want that. Like, again, I want people excited about the process, excited about making changes, and knowing that like I'm here to help them and guide them. And the main thing for me is I want to work with people who want to do the work, right? So I love CrossFit as like an analogy. Is like when I sign up for CrossFit and I sign up for a coaching program or a program, I don't sign up for it to get results just for it to sit in my inbox, right? Like I have to actually go into the gym and do the workouts and put the intensity in, right? It's the same thing with the nutrition coaching program. And so I work best with people that are going to do the work. And so that means that their commitments to themselves have to be there. And it's not about perfection. I am far from the perfect. I far from expect perfection from any of my clients. My most successful clients are the least perfect, but they have consistency and they build in reps over time. And that's honestly what I'm looking for. So that's what it's like to work with me as a coach. I wanted to kind of end on like kind of like what I was talking about is I do have 3 different programs now. Essentially, and full transparency, I told you guys last week is I've been working on the name of my company is FitBodyRx. And I know that majority of people struggle with fat loss and weight loss, and that's typically why they want to dial in their nutrition. So with that, I kind of had started a group program called Fat Loss Simplified, and I have a program called Fat Loss Frameworks. But as I'm, going into my own transition in life and thinking about what I really want all of my clients to get, that name just doesn't feel authentic to me in what I want for all of you guys, because that is the goal. The goal is fat loss, right? But the goal is maintaining it. And that's why my company name is FitBodyRx. You guys want to look and feel fit, whether that's fitness because you want to, and I'm not saying fitness like you want to go to the CrossFit games, but like, dude, you want to be fit enough to like go play with your kids in the park and go upstairs and not get winded. And maybe you want to be able to run a mile in a certain amount of time, or you want to squat a certain amount of weight. But like the goal is like, you want to look and be fit. And that's not just a fat loss goal. Some people might need to build a little bit of muscle. They might not need a fat loss plan. They might need to build a little bit. I want to help you too. So I'm going to be changing the name. It's going to stick to FitBodyRx, but I think I just want to kind of explain the 3 different tiers because I haven't thought about how I'm going to break this down. So I've got a course, and you can buy the course, and the course is got everything you need for the do-it-yourselfer. That it takes you from, there's modules that is like everything from like how to set your own calorie needs, what you should be eating, eating out, like everything you can think you possibly need with nutrition, it's likely in there. And if you have a question about what's in there, just let me know and I can give you a little bit of a rundown of the back end. I also have a cohort program, and the cohort program just started, and I still have plenty of spots left up in it. I'm keeping it to about 20 people. But the cohort program is kind of the middle ground between do it yourself and one-on-one coaching, because they have a weekly call. They're getting a weekly touch base with me just for adjustments. But it's kind of that person that's like, I can follow a program. I just might need somebody as a professional to tell me what to adjust things. And if they have questions, they have an opportunity to ask those questions in a group format on Thursdays. And all of my one-on-one clients can also come on those calls. It's a great opportunity for us to connect. And then I obviously have one-on-one coaching where you can work with myself or my co-coach Hannah. And we offer that one-on-one intimate experiments for those of you guys that don't want to have to worry about a weekly call. You want to be able to check in with your coach whenever. You get a little bit more text accountability, messaging accountability, all that kinds of stuff. And my approach to nutrition is very much, it's a whole picture approach. So food quality, there's no bad foods, no good foods, but we do teach high quality diet 80% of the time, whatever you want the other 20% of the time. I do teach more than just macros. So you do have macros as a component, but you also learn the importance of things like fiber, water intake, things like meal structure. We look at food habits, and the main goal is figuring out what kind of lifestyle you want to live beyond working with us. And so for some of my clients, they like to track their food. They like to focus on macros. Some of my clients want to move into more of an intuitive, I don't really want to be a macro tracker for the rest of my life. So that's a little bit about how I do things in my program. And the goal really is every single week, you're getting some kind of wins. You're getting some kind of results, whether it's, the scales going down, whether it's the weights going up in the gym, whether it's your relationship with food is improving, whether it's your appetite's getting better, your sleep is getting better, whatever. I want to see some wins every single week and also address your struggles. So that's a little bit about my coaching program. And like I said, I know it's not going to be the right program for everybody. The main thing today is that when you are researching different programs, to really look at obviously what you actually need and the style of coaching you're going to receive. And I feel like I can bullet point this in three easy things. What kind of coaching you need, what kind of support you need, and then obviously, I think those are the two main things, really. So, but if you guys have any questions about my programs, or you want to learn more about nutrition, the program that I have that's do it yourself, feel free to reach out to me. I just saw a comment come up, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop over there. For sure, Lex, I hope that you're doing awesome. Yeah, I love doing these podcasts. My next podcast, guys, get ready. We are going to be breaking down protein. I'm going to be talking a lot about protein right now in my group. I am doing it was awesome. I haven't done challenges in my group in a long time, and I just so happen to feel like doing a challenge. And I had a lot of people in the group were like, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. So we're starting a protein challenge this week. And I got a lot of people in my group that are just like hitting their protein, and that's the main goal. So next episode, I'm going to dive into a little bit of the macronutrients, protein being number one, talk a little bit about carbs and fats as well. But I want to probably do maybe one on each of the macros rather than doing them all at once. So that's what I got for y'all today. I hope you guys all have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you guys all on the next episode.